Hey everybody, it is Cathy with Backyard Columbus, and today's episode is about winter birding tips in Ohio. And what I like about winter birding, I'll call it, in my backyard, is that I can actually see these little guys a lot easier. And I'm not going to lie to you, so when I was younger, I kind of thought birding was lame, and I thought that it's something that older people did. And then when I was not very old, I went on a trip, actually to Peru, and got to do a class with some Cornell University professors from their ornithology department and learned more about birds. And then I got home and I'm like, birds really aren't that bad. So in our yard, the more habitat that we have created for them, then the more birds we get to see and the more variety we get to see, not just the robin. Okay, so nothing wrong with an American robin, but I do crave a little more variety than that. So anyway, it's brought me a lot of joy, and I've known some other people who I would say are pretty hip and cool, and they kind of like, under their breath, they're like, hey, I saw some birds and it got kind of cool, and so I bought a bird book, and then I bought binoculars, and now they're all in, and it's just, who doesn't love nature? I mean, once people get over any heebie-jeebies they have about whatever, and they start to notice little things, they get more involved, more engaged, and it makes them happier. And so this is another reason why I do this podcast, is because I love sharing the joy that I get in our yard, in our suburban backyard. We don't live on a farm. We don't have acreage. We have, I don't even know what it is, an eighth of an acre, maybe between an eighth and a fourth, whatever that is. But we just have a standard lot, and we have converted it into what I consider our oasis. But we've just added more elements of nature to it. So instead of just grass and standard stock bushes that come with your house, which really support just about nothing, we've added, it did come with trees that we actually had to remove because they were diseased, but we've reintroduced trees and native bushes, native plants, ponds, all these things, and we have seen a greater diversity come back into our yard. So anyway, wintertime is a wonderful time because all of the leaves aren't in the way. Birds get in the trees and then you can't see anything. You can just hear them, which I love that too. I love hearing birds wake me up in the morning. I don't even get angry about it if I'm still asleep and the windows are open. It's just sweet little songs. So in no particular, it is a particular order, actually. I'm going to put this in front of me so I can see what I'm doing. So number one, okay, so if you would like to start attracting birds to your yard, okay, I will tell you off the top of my head, which is always a bad idea because then I go down a rabbit hole of other thought processes. But if you can do nothing else, I would plant an oak tree. Yes, you could do bird feeders and all that stuff, but I'm just saying the number one way to help attract birds into your yard is to plant an oak tree. And so I'm going to go down a rabbit hole anyway. I wish I'd have written this down because this is actually kind of an important point. There is a whole circle of life, okay? I'm going on a big thing now, but this is an important point. So birds need to eat, and yes, they can eat bird seed, okay? But in the wild, a lot of birds eat mostly caterpillars. And caterpillars are a result of a moth or a butterfly laying their eggs. Those eggs hatch, and then they become a caterpillar. All right. And so if you are not planting anything to attract the butterflies and moths that would, like I said, subsequently lay an egg and it becomes a caterpillar, then far less likely that there are going to be a bunch of birds that come into your yard because that's what they need to eat. And yes, again, they can eat bird seed, but this is like a whole thing. And I mean, caterpillar's a lot of protein. All right. So do you see it's a one thing? I don't even know if I'm using this correctly. One thing begats another. You know what I mean? You do one thing and it helps another thing, and then you get the whole circle of life going back. So an oak tree, if I didn't say this already, hosts over 500 species of butterflies and moths. That's a kind of a big deal. That is a rock star pollinator thing, like a host plant all by itself, all right? And it provides housing for birds. They make their nests in it, and they hang out there and congregate and all the things. So anyway, an oak tree is always a great place to start, all right? But other than that, we could set up a cozy feeding station. All right. So that just means a bird feeder. And there are tons different bird feeders. You can get on Amazon, go to your local bird feed store, like a Wild Birds Unlimited here in Columbus, Ohio, and get any number of them. In our yard, we have a really big problem with squirrels. I mean, like a big problem. Every single time I have a bird feeder up, unless we put a squirrel baffle up, and the only way this works for us is to put it in the middle of the yard where they literally cannot jump off of anything else onto the bird feeder, which is what happens all the time. I could just lose my mind. And listen, if you're a squirrel lover, then good for you. Like, I don't hate them, but I'm not a big lover of them because they just decimate my birdseed. And it's frustrating. And they're gray squirrels, not like a native red squirrel, and that would probably make me a lot happier. I would feed them. But anyway, so what are the things you can put in your bird feeder? And on the bird feeder note, I would try to get squirrel baffles. There are bird feeders that once the squirrel jumps onto it, the weight of the squirrel will close the bird feeding hole, like the seed holes, and it can't get anything. So I would assume it eventually figures that out and stops coming to it. So those are all great choices. I will try to remember to put a link in the notes of this show. You can find some of these things on my Amazon store. I earn a very small commission. I mean, like a really small, if you get the things off of my store, but using the link, it doesn't cost you anything extra. It's just, kind of like how everything works. I just put it out there. Anyway, sunflower seeds are awesome. We have found that the chipped sunflower seeds, we get it at Champion Feed Supply in Sunbury, Ohio, Delaware or Sunbury. I'm not sure which one it is. Anyway, it's on Route 3637. It's great. I believe it's a co-op. They're great folks. I mean, they're really, really nice people, but we get a giant bag. I've not been able to find chipped sunflower seeds anywhere else, although truth be told, I haven't tried that hard. So who knows? Maybe they sell them in lots of places, but they're shelled and chipped, and it's way easier for little beaks. So thistle seed, goldfinches really like those. They make thistle seed feeders. In my experience, the goldfinches are pretty particular about where you put that thistle feeder, but the goldfinches absolutely love the chipped sunflowers also. So I just stick with that. Bluebirds, Eastern bluebirds absolutely love the chipped sunflowers. I know a lot of people will feed them mealyworms, mealy bugs or something that gets on your plants. Mealworms. That's expensive. If you can swing that and you want to give them a treat, then that's amazing. But they love the chipped sunflower seeds that we provide. Also, there's songbird blends. I just get it from a reputable company. Suet or nuts. Nuts we've never done. I'm assuming that squirrels are just going to take all of those. Suet feeders, they look like that square gloopy fattening stuff, but birds need fat in the winter. So you get a suet feeder, and suet's actually quite cheap, and hang those up, and you need to watch those get wet, and then they get kind of moldy. So don't keep up a moldy suet feeder, a suet block. And I'm not going to lie to you, I have been very, very guilty of that, and I've even seen it, and I'm like, oh, I need to take care of that, and then I don't. That's nothing good's going to come from that. You're going to make a bird sick. So myself included, I need to mind my business on that and make sure I take care of it. The biggest thing, and this is another important note to say, is the best thing you can do, and this is to plan ahead, okay? So if you want to get started with birding right now, you can easily go buy a bird feeder, put it up, fill it full of food, obviously, and call it a day. You can do that from any porch, balcony, window, and a pole, anything. Hang it from a tree. But to plan ahead, to save yourself some money, beautify your yard, and attract other things, a wonderful thing to do is to plant native plants, native bushes, because let's take a coneflower. Echinacea, a purple coneflower. You can get the bees and butterflies and moths, actually, to come to that in the summer, and so that will feed them. And then when the flower dies, that all turns to seed. That flower, almost all flowers have seed heads, so that turns to seed. And if you don't cut them down, then goldfinches especially will come and eat from the flower. All right, so there's lots of black-eyed Susans. I even had lemon balm that's an herb, went to seed because I failed to cut it down, and had all of these little goldfinches for probably 10 minutes just feeding on it. And so that's wonderful. Zinnias, native to the United States, to the American Southwest. You can plant those in a pot. If you have them in your backyard, just go ahead and leave the dead flowers there, because the chickadees and goldfinches will come to those dead flowers and pull out, that's actually seeds in the middle of that dead flower, and they'll eat that. So that is free feed. There are native bushes to Ohio, and every state has their own native bushes, or the whole United States. Winterberry holly, viburnum, especially the high bush cranberry, chokeberry, and spice bush. All once they flower, they produce berries. The high bush cranberry, especially against the white snow, beautiful red berries that, in my experience, the robins will eat them, and they will wait until the very last minute. I mean, they must suck. You know what I mean? I've tried one, and I actually don't think you're supposed to eat them raw. I think you're supposed to cook them if you're a human. There's something in them that you really shouldn't eat, but I tried one and bleh. Anyway, so that would be a really great thing to plan for spring or next fall, is to just get started planting some native things. And that's why there's all the hubbub about planting native, because it has kind of a very broad-reaching impact on our local wildlife, okay? So that is all for the feeding stations, and you can make those as fancy or as basic as you want to make those. Providing fresh water is very important, especially like today. Today is like, I don't even know what it was, 10 degrees outside, and so everything is frozen. Well, every living creature, just about, needs water. Birds are not excluded from that. So if you had a bird bath, this time of year, you would need to add a water heater, like a bird bath de-icer. And those are very cheap. They range from something that looks like a piece of tin foil with a heating element in it. It's less than $20, to something a little bit more substantial. But for a bird bath, you're not going to pay more than $25. It's very low wattage, so it costs hardly any money to run those. Okay, so really, I mean, for providing fresh water, that is it. Any kind of a container that won't crack in the winter, you could use it. I mean, if you have I'm just going to be ridiculous here. If you had an old garbage can lid, like, you could stick water in it, as long as you can prop it up on something, or even if it's laying on the ground, put a de-icer heater in there, and that would be good enough. Birds aren't really that particular. I mean, they drink water from road gutters, so anywhere there's fresh water, they will drink it. It would be a bonus if you could keep that kind of clean. Okay, everybody likes clean water, and it's healthier for everything. As far as habitat, this is just something long term. I mean, again, if all you have is a deck, and if you just had a bird feeder and a bird waterer, then that's better than nothing, and it will be very helpful, especially in the suburbs, or actually if you live in an urban area where there's hardly any trees or anything. But thinking ahead, you want to spruce up your yard a little bit, providing trees, bushes, a birdhouse. On that note, a birdhouse, just say you absolutely love bluebirds, eastern bluebirds, you love their blue plumage, and you're like, hey, I would love to see some of those in my yard. Birdhouses can be very specific. I mean, you can get a general birdhouse, and you're going to get a whole bunch of sparrows and other things, but I am not an expert in this area. I'm just telling you that bluebirds apparently are quite particular about the size of hole that's in the bird house. And so they can't fit into a hole the size of a chickadee because it's too small. Too big if it was bigger than what they normally use. I don't know what they think about that. But there are bluebird-specific houses with specific size holes. So I'm just telling you that. Obviously, this is what Google is for. I'm your idea guy, gal. So anyway, just letting you know that. And so that's the first 3 points. And the last point is identifying. I mean, look, if you don't want to get knee-deep into bird watching, you can literally just look and be like, hey, that's a pretty bird. I love watching it. Sit, bathe, eat, sit there on a branch. That's totally fine. But if you'd like to dig a little deeper, you can get the Merlin app. The Merlin Bird app. It's from the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. And if you can hear them but you can't see it, or if you see it and it's singing a song, you launch the app and it will tell you what bird that is. And it's pretty darn accurate. If you hear a bunch of birds, say you're taking a nature walk and you hear a bunch of birds and you're like, well, that song's really sweet. I wonder what that bird is. it will identify and it will show you several birds at the same time singing. And so if you keep hearing them at different times, the what do you call that thing? Like the graph, it'll show one more than the other. Anyway, it's a very handy app to have. A bird book is you really need one of those. There are several. I'm not going to get it right off the top of my head. It just left my head. There are a lot of well-regarded bird books, okay? So you can check out that. A bird feeder camera is amazing. There are several. Birdify, I think, is one. Birdfeed, I'm not sure how it is. Anyway, NetView, I have that one. It's not a really expensive one. Oh, Bird Buddy is the one that I'm thinking of, and I think it's $150 to $200. I think that's the premier one, but I got a little knockoff kind of one, and I've been very happy with it. So just read the reviews and see which one floats your boat. They're really, really fun because birds do some funny things at the feeders. And so look, when you're bored out of your skull, check it out, and I think you'll have some fun with it. Binoculars are helpful if you have something that's like across the yard. And hey, if you're really bored and or you have children, grandkids, or whatever, bird bingo. Who doesn't love a good round of bird bingo, right? So anyway, I hope that I've given you some good ideas about how you can do some winter birding. And if you don't want a bird, but you just want to help them out, then, get some feed and get some fresh water and call it a day at that. So I would really appreciate it if you would share my podcast with your friends, just trying to spread the word and do some good out here in the suburbs. And as always, I thank you for listening. Have an awesome day.